Which one is the mic? This
Yeah, that no, that
this one, this one?
the other one.
Either one, that'll work now.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and use that condenser.
Can I just kind of like
Okay, use that.
sit there?
You gonna hold it? Or you
Yeah, I'm
just
gonna
lift
hold
it?
it.
You want it off there?
Okay.
You want it off?
Yeah, yeah, I want
Okay,
it.
you got it. I don't know if it's turned up enough. Try it. Oh yeah, sounds like it's got something going.
These are just.
No,
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 let me give you
no,
some
no.
more juice. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Just say test, test, test when you say.
Test, test, test.
That works.
Okay, that works. Whoop, no. Okay, these are just kind of like 4 fictional directions. North. I loaded my revolver with the Snickers bars, spun the time cylinder, and put the muffle into my thoughts, Russian roulette style. I pulled the trigger. A war in my temple exploded. I OD'd from excessive cocoa powder. South. I'm sitting with Krishna in the Mahabharata bar. Arjuna is on stage performing belly dancing with his sword. I met him in the Odyssey Theater in the Mission. He teaches how to shimmer your pranic pelvis. I'm amazed how he controls every single muscle of his core. Krishna and I are watching Arjuna from the VIP section. Arjuna joins us during the intermission. I tell him he's lucky. There are so many dancers who can't make it as dancers, and they end up being a yoga teacher. Don't be silly, he admits shyly. Krishna's proud. He's always been a humble warrior. The rhythm of tombak fills the air again. The crowds cheering, asking for an encore. Arjuna's face illuminates with joy. He returns to the stage as we walk back to Krishna's chariot and speed up home under the pleased pulsating stars. West. It's such fun to watch Netflix with Charles Orson. This is the last episode of Agent Shield. He asks me if he can borrow my azure dress. Of course, my darling. It goes well with your projective purse. He's always good with matching colors. He's tired of all these men looking up into him as a poet. He's more than that. I know. That's why we get along. I understand his taste in fashion. He's circling around his skirt, spinning around his perfect form. We throw ourselves over the couch and laugh so loud that our tears run down our face. He's full of joie de vivre. East. It's the last Jalaluddin Muhammad Rumi's stage name Molavi boxing match. My gaze is fixed on his feet whirling around the ring. We had an argument the night before over dinner. He can't handle his PMS very well. He promised me that next month he'll be taking birth control pills and going to anger management class. Look at him, how he enlightens with every punch. He's been protecting all his life just for this moment of fana. Ouch. I can't bear seeing him getting hurt anymore. His eyes are bleeding. They called a doctor. The doctor is cutting into his skin so he can see. They announced no contest. I am so sorry, Jalal. Okay, thank you.
So 124 light years away, they think they might have found evidence of life. but I think we have evidence of life right here too, which is great, because that was Ava Koohbor, sort of messing with the rare earth metals of the mind and atmosphere and everything else. And we're here because Jeffrey Joe Nelson happens to be in town. And so we figure that's a good excuse for us all to get together. Jeffrey Joe is out in Brooklyn, been out there for a long time. Most of you probably know this already. But he runs a reading series called Greetings at Unnameable Books. And here we are at Bird and Beckett Books. So I realized there's a connection there, which I hadn't thought about until just a second ago. So that's great. I'm not good at these sort of things. So I'm going to let Jeffrey Joe say whatever he wants to about himself. But I will say that we have a few copies of his chapbook, which he had specially printed with orange and black covers for his trip to San Francisco. Yes. So that was really nice. Yes. It's really, it's smart. Yeah, because we celebrate Halloween here year round. And the Giants are the second best team in baseball right now. So there's that too. And Sunnylyn Thibodeaux is here as well, which I should say, I spent quite a while trying to find more of her chapbooks that we did a few years ago. And I found a grand total of 4 copies, which means the rest are all in the world. So if you want a copy, there's only 4 left. I don't know what reading order you guys have planned. Have you talked about it? Have we talked about it and I've forgotten already?
Jeffrey Joe should headline because he'll be visiting.
So he's going to read twice. All right, I'll take that. So Sunnylyn Thibodeaux sounds like will be coming up now. Yeah? Where's the light? Why don't you come on up? Do you need a music stand to hold your materials? Throw them at us? All right.
What about a tiny chair?
A tiny chair could work too.
Or a full-size chair?
I was watching Ava. I didn't know the tiny chair was there, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, she's so strong!" Like I thought she was just squatting. I was like, I would be on my back. I don't know if any of you guys did this while she was playing. I was just watching this on the ceiling. And not the ball, but just the lights on the ceiling. It was the most amazing, like, otherworldly, experience. Speaking of life somewhere else. It was like all there. Thank you all for being here. Jeffrey Joe, thank you so much for reaching out about it. It is a school night for many of us. So I'm like, I left the 14-year-old home because she's over poetry readings.
Sounds familiar.
So, yeah. I will read some of these newer things.
Use this a little bit because it goes out into
Okay.
the world. Not for this
There we
folks
go.
here.
You can.
You can ignore it.
I feel like I looked at something. Maybe it was in the awesome printing that Nick did. And Ava, did you use the word Riz? Maybe. Which is definitely a teenage thing, right? And my daughter, because of the way her friends are, they like play on the Riz, and then it became like you're not just the Rizzler, but you're the Osler. And I really liked the word, so I put it in a poem, and she's like, "You can't take my friends and I slang and put it in your poetry." And I was like, "Sorry, And she gets really mad. Micah's last book was Busy Secret, which was her title she came up with, and she was livid. Like, you can't do that. I want money. That's what, so she's at that. So I won't tell her I'm reading. Maybe it's better she's not here. I am the ultimate Osler. Reading about Harry Crosby and the changing of his wife's name and the dead pigeons around the neck, painted in red. I've been saying ochre, but I don't think you say it as ochre. Red, how do you say it? Ochre. So let me say that again. the dead pigeons around the neck painted in red ochre. I wander about the diamond lights, flickering pendant of sapphire ghosts, 7 candles of gold leaf. How many lovers does it take to get to the center of a good poet? How many letters of request for the trust fund to stay tapped in and out of sheets, satin and marbled? I would have never left the studio if I had just gotten a glimpse of the ink on his feet. Signs of life. Rush hour at the crosshairs, like a modern-day Fellini film. Ledge of the 16th Street BART, bustling with handshake drugs, chatty frequenters, chihuahuas and pit bulls. A thin man in a hoodie nodded out his fix while straddling his 3-speed. Head near his waist, bendy straw-curved spine, bike still upright like a magic trick. Sun shifting lower, casting shadows for long patterns. Basketry weave design of the Pomo people from a corner handheld radio, the agile voice of Maria Callas giving everyone chills. Al-Shifa for Palestine. Fluorescent gray was required, if any else remained. There were trees of phonics and castles burned into stardust. The sea foam whistled Berlioz, or something like it, from the heart's tear. It was ceremony in most cases, traditions and formalities. The emptiness swallowed everything. There isn't even death when everything is gone. There isn't even death. Forever, watching people rise and float, the sky imperfect all the way to the sea. Forever, the sea and its requiem. I left my metal heart. I can say this, I think everyone just about knows, Lorca and I are likely leaving the city and going to New Orleans for her high school journey. Michael will stay put and do the bi-coastal travel. It's very looking that way. So I'm wrestling a lot with looking around and the things I love, the things I don't. I left my metal heart. Half moon meets the sunrise, 7:22 a.m., 44 degrees, robins in full chorus. I may miss this place. Mock orange blossom perfume, hill climb view, but not the odor of despair and overdose debris, sirens screeching the night, neighbors flailing in deprivation, blackened heels, rosy-cheeked in the wind. Drape me. The sky was white-blue with winter. Cold went beyond the bone chill. Heart empty freeze with no words to describe orbitless. The jukebox from the 50s holds tales in each scratch that can revive in 3-minute increments and 3 minutes alone. Those lonely, lonely nights from Earl's Pearls, all the accessory I need. Routines. This is for Micah. The morning air holds the rumble of cleaners. Ravens strut about the shadows, collecting spilled debris. No look back. I'll tell you that later. As I am pulled to the Jesus Freak pamphlets at the free library, and you are calculating the weight of the world in your mind. Sky has a haze, but more blue than gray. I scan the return of Christ language for a glimpse. I scan the return of Christ language for similarities and try to catch a glimpse of you up the hill, met with glare from the windshields as the sun rises a little more. I wave into the light, just in case. Rent control. The new neighbors put out a feeder for the sparrows and the house finches. We did this too, in awe of wildlife from our cityscape. Then came the pigeons to make a home, nest in the garbage chute on the ladder, in the ventilation system, eggs hatch, shit splatter on every receptacle. They mate for life, you know. I want to tell them that the building is cursed, that there was a fire on the roof, a cat died in their unit, Osiris. The elderly man was found comatose in their bedroom, who celebrated many occasions with us. There were bones in the flower bed, an overdose in the unit below, once even Bobby Puleo and the Little People Band. There was a meth head that threw his girlfriend out the window, an ex-con hustler and a trench coat smoker that didn't talk. There have even been dozens of 911 calls and a roof that leaked for a decade. There may be mold. There may be termites. Ants definitely find their way up. It's a good building. The neighborhood's changed. No more gunshots. But I wouldn't feed the birds. They tend to stick around. Yeah. I think I'll end it with that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
One more
Yeah,
for Bobby Puleo.
for Bobby Puleo. He was a skater who lived in our building. You knew who that was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're not going to read another one, tell us what Take It Back.
Oh, no, look backs. This is something that I don't know how many of you know. This is a thing. Patrick knows it. Like when you're walking away from someone and you split on the street, you keep looking back and do a wave. It's your constant, like the goodbye continues until you can't see them anymore. And so that was, we were splitting on the street. I walked him to work one morning and then like I looked back for him, but he wasn't, and he may have looked back, but I missed his look back. That happens sometimes. But so it was like, oh, no look backs. He didn't look back. But then when I was trying to look, I couldn't see because there was this glare. So that was the whole funny aspect. That's the look back. Now you know. Follow up with the look back. All right. Jeffrey Joe Nelson, we're so happy you're here.
Is Micah trying to set up housing for you guys down there? Because he's down there now, right?
He's actually in northern Louisiana with his family. The housing part's taken care of because my parents passed last year, back to back, 6 months, and then we bought the house. And that's my childhood home.
Where is that house?
So not in the city, it's in the suburbs, in a little river town between the train tracks and the Mississippi River. Yeah.
That
New
sounds
Orleans, It's a
great.
New Orleans zip code, but it's in the suburbs.
New Orleans is such an amazing place. I can't help thinking about you and Micah whenever I go down there. And you
I
know,
was wondering, why do you always go down there? Do you have family there?
I used to have family in that long stretch of Florida
Okay.
that they
Panhandle?
call the Panhandle. Yeah, right around the Miracle Strip. And
He's
There are miracles in
maybe the
Florida?
stage guy. How's that work?
Nick, you're doing a great job as stage guy.
Can you tell my dad I'm doing good?
Eric, he's doing a great job. Eric's on the board. That's good. I'm going to bring some instrumentation. So that's glad you're on the board there. Yeah, the Miracle Strip, which you don't. It goes from New Orleans. You know the Miracle Whip, don't you? Well, I didn't really know the Miracle Strip either, but when I was traveling with my dog to California at one point, and I stopped on the Miracle Strip, and it was like 4 a.m, and I was walking the dog, and about to go to sleep in the car, and some guy kind of came out from a tent. He's like, "Hey there, you know you're on the Miracle Strip." I was like, "No, I didn't know anything about that. What's the Miracle Strip?" He's like, "Come into my tent, and I'll show you." So, I learned pretty quick. This is courtesy of Nura and her daughter, Isna. I don't know if any of y'all know Nura. She's in Sausalito. She was someone who we hung out with a lot in Brooklyn back in the day. And I'm glad that she's here because she's nearby and she wants to meet you all. So, Nura right over there. She's got a book coming out from some LA press. What's that LA press called? Semiotext, right? How could, just it's a small, it's a very small press. Who I have never met before today, and I was just blown away by 6-year-old magic in the Mount Tam Muir Woods. Like, what? Yeah, pretty exciting stuff. There's also some spirits up here, if anyone wants some Bushmill. There's that kind of spirit, and in case you don't want to go with the Protestant thing, I believe Nick has some Catholic Jameson available. Not sure how you feel about that. Well, Rod, very rarely do people do both, but I do both. My father's family is split between Catholic and Protestant, so I will. Yeah. That's what I've heard. Even though Steve Delachinsky didn't really ever play any of these things, I still think of Steve when I set up this stuff.
He's been on this stage. He has.
Has he really?
Yeah. Last time I saw him was here.
Was here?
Yeah.
Wow.
With Coolidge.
He was here with Coolidge? Oh my gosh. That must have been a great reading.
It was. His reading? But his reading.
No, his height. He was a shorter man than I ever thought he'd be.
I thought he owed you something.
He would.
Great reader.
He would love us talking about him right now.
He would. He deserves it.
Yeah, he really does. We had a memorial reading for I don't know, maybe a celebration of the second printing of the Final Night recently, and it was great. Yuka was really excited to bring. She was saying the old ducks and the new ducks together. And I was like, that's great. I don't know any of the people who are running Ugly Duckling now. So it was interesting to meet all these. Like, they were like 20-something. I was like, my God, were we that young when we were doing this? And as Julian says, we were that young. And they were very nice, but they were reading Steve's poems, and they were like whispering Steve's poems. I was like, oh my gosh, you didn't really know this man, did you? Steve was not a whisperer, for darn sure. I'm going to start out with something a little unusual. I don't know. I've been going through my office, and I rediscovered some manuscripts that I hadn't seen in forever. Have you guys ever done that? Gone through old manuscripts and been like, this isn't so terrible. Maybe. So I went to Cuba about 20 years ago, and it was at a difficult point in my life. I was breaking up with my first wife, and I was there with a good friend of mine who's here tonight. Andrew, are you in this building? There he is. And Andrew, you're living up in Santa Rosa now, is that right? With Ukiah. Ukiah, that's right. I keep thinking of John Coletti, Santa Rosa. So the Cuban blues starts out. In Havana, I am smoking in bed and drinking from another man's glass. It is warm enough to open the shutters and cool enough to receive the breeze. The easy laughter of the Cubans rises up out of the streets, mixing with the strangled cries of forgotten dogs and cats. I don't have an answer for why I am here. This page is whiter than my body, and all about me. My drying clothes hang. In the distance, the sea crashes against the crumbling walls of the city. Oh, Havana, where the price of milk is 5 times that of beer or rum. Oh, Havana, where the company of a woman costs less than an hour's work or a pack of cigarettes in America. It was frightening being on those streets at night, not because of crime, but because I guess that's how the women knew how to make money from a lot of the Europeans that were traveling there. You would be grabbed. I've never been grabbed so much by women. And of course, I was not in the mood to be grabbed by women because I was like, I'm just damaged. So, 3, tonight, this page is bigger than my heart beating in the center of old Havana. A donkey tied to a fading wall of a tiny bus stop is more sure of itself than my hand gripping this pen. Is it possible to know a people in 7 days? Is it possible to love oneself in a land where they cannot speak your name? My lines are beginning where they should end. Everything burns faster here in Havana, and yet the people persist without milk or wealth or fame. I came here to forget, but all I can do is remember. Remember when we traveled to Puerto Rico or Greece or Spain? We'd leave New York with sharp pains in our throats, only to be born again in a land with a different name. The high ceilings here and busy streets remind me of home, of moving throughout the days in haste and somehow retaining a modicum of grace. Listen to me when I tell you it isn't so bad to wake up in the middle of the evening with a horde of roaches crisscrossing your arms and legs. I've been through worse in this life, and so have you. One can easily leave a room behind. It's the 3 to 5 inches of snow piled deep inside the pages of this book I can't erase. It is impossible in Castro's Cuba to kiss the one you love in public. One must be furtive about their passion for another unless it is a political figure you savor. The other day, for example, I came across one of the hotel maids kissing her lover in a dark corner by the stairwell, and immediately they dropped their hands and pretended not to know how they'd come to stand so close together. Perhaps, though, it has less to do with Castro and more with the excited rush of clandestine intimacy, like a child whispering ghost stories in the dark. In order to keep alive love's spark, one must conceal its mysterious art. Julian, are you about to make New York Nights again?
Yeah.
That is happening?
It's happening.
I remember that correctly?
Yeah.
So, of course, when I heard about you doing that, I was like, wow, I need to write something for New York Nights. This is happening again. So, I came up with something. Let me see. I think maybe it was this morning. I don't know. All right, so let's see. New York Nights. I mean, New York Nights was such a fantastic publication. I loved reading. There's a lot of Thule stuff in New York Nights. That's true, right? And yeah, it was just beautiful. So let's see. There's some topicalia in here. Check it out. Poem for today. You know you're asked out when the only word in use in the English language with 2 asses in it flashes on the screen of your mini computer processor. Because once again, the assassin missed his mark. And all that happened was the orange toupee came off, revealing what we all know lay beneath the gears, cogs, and wires of a chatbot. manufactured by the Heritage Foundation in cooperation with the corporate junta who've owned these scattered states of America since before Eisenhower told us they owned us, where the people come out in droves for protests and nary a photo or mention of it is heard on the news, as if the fringes of employees of agencies meant to watch over us with pencil-pushing grace, as if the cutting of monies to education facilities and threats of sanctioning institutions of higher learning, as if the meanness emanating from the house of white lies was meant to spook us into giving us hope, or to giving up hope, as if the collective soul of the people I love were trapped in the ring undergoing a massive rope-a-dope beating, and here we are in a trade war, self-made war, with the largest nation on earth, notion, the notion of having too much freedom, as if that were a thing. That most expensive of notions just got picked up by a driverless car to deliver a package to a mail android, no gender intended, will drop it off at our doorstep as if a propaganda bomb for adolescents told us how mid we all are. How none of us, not a single one of us over 25 has a single note of Riz. How the gewgaws, widgets, plastic whatchamacallits are now cheaper than ever, cheaper than an Anne Rice Vampire Forever, when the mudslides and the wildfires and the tornadoes and the sharknadoes, the earthquakes, algae blooms, flash floods, prehistoric viruses, and orange wigs are not a product of global warming or climate change, but something more sinister. The massive loss of brain cells, and yeah, you guessed it, in a very limited, crowdsourced, bad taste way, as if our words of protest were placed in a giant lottery ball cage, along with the kind of scientific terms that scare the kind of people who can't stand to examine history except through the lens of their privilege, as if those words are just blowing in the wind of Bob Dylan's tour, which I just bought tickets to at the beginning of August and late September, if we make it that far. Which I hope so. Eddie Berrigan will be bummed if we don't make it that far. Come on, don't bum out Eddie. Definitely not. All right. Oh yeah, so true. All right, can I find the clicker? All right. Let's see. Who called you laddie? For Steve. I'm all motoring in my mind. Where's that broadside of Steve's? The one I read for the second edition party of the final night. On the shelf? I grab it and run the placard downstairs to post once more on fridge door. A mysterious beeping transpires as if the sidewalk king of Soho is at it again and watching me now. Delachinsky. No one calls you Steven. Why would you have that put on your book? Why did those kids let me do it? Because they love it. Because they love you, Steve. They'll let you do whatever you want. He was always a Steve for as long as I knew him. 20 some odd years on the old haiku train, poets call Ranga, sent through the mail after a suggestion from Tom the Savage, one of the gentlest poets I've ever known, and the true last NYC roommate of Jim Brody, before the angel of death relieved him of his pain here in San Francisco, 1993. Several typed pages came to my door, the last bit revealing space for one more. Don't look at me, frog. This pond in New York City cools hot feet. Hey, Steve said later, maybe you ought to be a haiku poet and move to Japan. I haven't been there yet. But you know, that's where Yuko's from. So taken we were by the poem, whether in music or sung on paper, Brooklyn, Queens, and old Amsterdam. So taken in the mind we are by noises heard and unheard outside the muse's breath. Steve, you were about the same age I am now when we met around the turn of the last screwy century. And even then, you'd get mad as hell, cursing up a storm. You were the most Jesus-loving Jew I ever knew. It's true, Yuko said. Steve loved Jesus. That brother suffered, you know? You suffered too, as we all do. Silver spoon or mouth of sandy dune, there's a shadow or a cross for all to bear. Laddie, I can hear you say, from across the veil of sleep, calling to your kids like you treated each of us in turn. Keep writing, laddie. Keep making art. Whether you write one kind of poem or a dozen, keep them coming. Them's the only things that'll distinguish you from butcher, baker, and them money makers. Keep making that noise. And if you're lucky, a little music will fall into the ears of those who listen. Isn't it particularly like that one? And this too. And this too is ice. The cave beneath us breathes a sticky glue, pulling us back whenever doors open. Insincerity falls by the wayside. The bloat gutted, we rise surfaceward out of entropy, grab a book, contemplate as animals, we, the moon, splendor of night, hiccups and scraped knees, indigestion, poor eyesight, personality, calamity, aching appendage and night laid out in panels, slipping slowly in elixir of sleep-infused story, tunnels and paths through orchards unaccounted for, color, sound, tasting of fruit ripened in the dream, a kind of whitish red, a pulp of purple blue, and I wake, stumble into pants made too tight by dream eating, and I stumble out the door, down stoop with dog on leash, and find myself on the corner, mesmerized, staring up at the first tree on our block to bloom. A shock of white flowers adorns top of thick trunk, as if the ancients became young again. "13. The girl next door, down the street, on the bus, in math class. Cigarettes behind the school, Pizza Hut, salad bars, shoulder squeeze at the beach, street ball, skeet ball, body surfing, lotion over pale limbs, spy hunter, defender, Galaga, pool parties, BMX bikes, everything with an edge, puke green, dead carrot orange, mustard yellow, I guess you'd say ochre, walls exploded by neon pink sleeveless tees and dayglow green and orange sunglasses, braces hidden under thick lips, feathered hair, tight Lee jeans, them parachute pants, baggy jeans and backward baseball caps, boom boxes, heavy metal, punk rock, hip hop, lost souls floundering in middle school fishbowl, 8th grade hairy arms, budding breasts, wandering bodies, upturned collars, uber testes, versus sniffing glue at the back of the schoolyard out of used plastic sandwich bags. Oh, Joey. Sleepovers, sneaking in or up to see the girls. Everyone looks better in the dark. Dancers in the gym holding hands, hands on hips, working their way up, lips meeting lips for first nip, then tongue tips. Just the tips tingling together, panting, almost out of breath, breathing as one, until the hairy hand of the history teacher separates bodies, the body growing in leaps and bounds toes punching through the dirty white rubber tip of red and blue Converse, socks busted at the heels, underwear so stained they look like shredded tablecloths. Puka beads, white and turquoise, thin leather choker with the silver kiss insignia dangling below the Adam's apple, $5 bill in my sock, a stash of comic books in every nook and cranny, 20-sided die, hickeys, horn dogs, and the dream of using a hookah after climbing the stairway to the dark side of Crazy Train, Pyromania, shining in the moonlight over the phone number written with a black Bic ballpoint pen on the palm of my sweaty hand. Oh, 13. Some people come up, I write intros for greetings, and like, what happened to the facts? I want to know who this person is. I'm like, just listen to the poems. So, to the answer to the why are your intros the way they are, I say the order of the reader. The reader is a dancer in any language. Not always a name, certainly not often, but occasionally in poetry circles, but rarely in any other circle, a name brand. Not always having a name, oft outside of poetry, and not necessarily needed, but welcome if so, to enjoy cold plunge, dry air of land mammals. Lung sack? Tote bag? Toe bag? Never use the same word twice in the same way. Twice. Violin child. Ted Jones ran all over town, writing it in chalk and thick black grease pencil on every surface he found. Bird, of course. Bird lives. Big ups. Cyclops. I tell the kids, don't be an Onan. It's not at all related to Conan. You fuck and hopefully make the love for as long as you can, and later when done, enfeebled, drained, arthritic, bound to a machine, you muse. I'm not there yet. It's okay. The cardinal rule of all those clubs Groucho wasn't part of: no sex in sex. 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 But don't you know, they break them all the time. And for what it's worth, I have a foggy notion. We all taste better in the dark. 'Cause, as Dick likes to sing, I mean Dick Griffin, the heart ain't got eyes, so love is blind. Love is blind, love is blind, the heart don't have eyes. Drop it like it's a prop, but pick it up like it's a golden egg. Microcosm, speed up. Macrocosm, slow down. Albeit hyperbole turns me off, while understatement turns me on. 1 degree warmer for every word you poke your finger through. It's just disappeared.
I get that.
It's coming back.
Platypus.
I said that today.
Yeah.
I was like, yes. I was like, is your friend named Platypus? She was like, what? I was like, is it Taper? She was like, no, it's Michael. All right. Eternal, doomed, domed city of Kubla Khan. If there ever was such a thing, if Ezra Pound was really a foppish young dandy who played coy, it's true, with Amy Lowell and Anais Nin, psst, Abyssinian, psst, alabaster beauty, the stand-in for exotic muse, and uptight T.S. cat dancer, stand in for Broadway treacle, dance into the readers and the listener's favor and away. And now once again, the birds live. See? Hear them in the eaves, because in the end, when we're all way dead, it'll be about the bones or them words we leave behind, or will it? Damn it, Jim. I'm not a bricklayer. I'm a curator. I want poetry, not facts. I hope that was succinct enough. All right. So, it is April, and it rains a lot in April. And so this is April in the Drains. It's where she wants me to be, and I am. Interlocutor, terraglyph seen from afar, a natural communication, ringing bells in the rain. Some forms become whole only after being used for many years. Casually attired to keep warm in cold spring. All our Aprils start with the fool tinkering inside their house. Hammer, hammer, nail, nail. Grab your red throbbing finger by the knuckle hair and do the paw-paw dance. Where does the world go when we put our head down for a nap? Germination. Seeds begins its journey. The dogwood, an achingly alarmed forsythia, a natural combination unlike pairing the New York Mets and the Grateful Dead. Jerry Garcia and Jerry Koosman? Is Papa the devil? He sure gets mad enough to be. Is Papa a white man? Then he may be Papa Legba. For sure, yeah. Yeah. The devil you know, so the saying go. To make it big with the smallest thing, door to door, hand to mouth, farm to table, pen to paper, each key is a letter, each letter a key. The whining child in the pharmacy is only sick with wanting. We have all been there and back. Is wanting to possess the physical the same as wanting to experience a feeling or an event? All wanting is a kind of desire. They have it written over the entrance to the mall. It used to be carved in stone on the roadway leading into the city, but all the traffic has worn it away. Even the desire for nothingness, and how nothing expands to accommodate our needs. Nothing is greater than we can imagine. How even when nothing is left, nothing remains. All the land cleared, all the trees removed, all the animals vacated. A nothingness invades the memory. No things, no images, no pieces, missing, lost, or found. Even commas, even ellipses, oddly thesaurus. What will we find on the West Coast, different from the East Coast? There's always a feeling for leaving. Pull of place being left, push to leave to find oneself elsewhere. Sudden beauty revealed. I let my head loll on back of chair, close the eyes, and look for sun in the place I need it most. So I don't know if you guys know Sunnylyn as a postcard poet at all, but she does write these amazing postcards. We're part of this thing sometimes, and I talked to Garrett about it. He's like, I cannot do poetry on demand. I cannot do it. And I know, I can't either. I just write like 20 of them at one time when it comes. And so I got this from Sunnylyn, and I was going to read another one that's in my bathroom medicine cabinet, but it was just too long. So this one, and someone sent me a picture of it, and I just couldn't make out the words, but this one I got recently. Do you remember this one? She's like, no.
Because this year we had something like 64.
Yes.
It was so insane.
Yes.
And I scrambled. I don't even know if I wanted to.
So you know 20 at one time, right? But
No, it wasn't like
I want to read it because I think it's beautiful and it inspired me when I got it. I wouldn't read it if I didn't think so, but it's just. Can I read it? Yeah. Dragon Earth and maniac lanterns, whether ornament or boundary, the beginning was right in my hand. Yeah, like yes. Yes, Rod, yes. Yes. So before I go, I did, some of you received this book already. I sent some out to folks, and this is the product of those postcards that we sometimes don't write. So just read one from here. This is for Sunnylyn and Mike Ballard. We got good tacos. You should have limits. Money, sex, material goods, food, drink, hubris, smoke, all in good time, my dear laddie. A beverage commercial sneaks up on us, but I'm not thirsty. Horror music comes on keyboards veering in and out. When we get stuck, a piece of us is left behind. Often a preliminary scan reveals no useful results. You have to touch down on the surface of a new planet in the flesh, senses open to the experience. Imagine yourself here with me. We're chopping vegetables for tacos. Garlic, peppers, onions, tomatoes, cilantro. We can be anywhere you like, even off-world, on a molecular level. Thank you all so much. Woo.
So many ways to make noise here. There was a lot of good ways to make noise tonight. Thank you, Ava, Sunnylyn, Jeffrey Joe, speaker, noisemakers. Everybody here should take at least 2 of these little free things, give one to a friend, and then everyone will know what they missed. So, thanks. We'll have a short intermission, then we'll do it all again. And it's not an open mic, Patrick.
Yeah, I thought so.